This is a tanky build. Like, there's nothing, yeah. This is just Ascendancy, and this is Stormblast Mines, sure. Dude, he's actually tanky.
This BAMA is 200 times better. Antiquarian? Big ward? This POB looks pretty good. Oh man, I'm really happy when I see like random like people make good builds. Calling random people? Should I call them green name Ostrix? Should I do that? Yo, it's Ostrix with the green name. We'll put it in the sheet. Guys, we'll put it right here. Antiquarian BAMA. Guys, but what if I ban Os with the green name and I just steal his build and call it Ruse BAMA? And then I make a YouTube video. Oh shit.
Did you guys know that cats can talk like that? Isn't that shit crazy? What's up, guys? It's Ostrix with the green name. That's me now. That's my name forever. What that cat and Fubgun were talking about was my POB for Antiquarian BAMA. It's going to be my Leaguestarter for Phrecia League on hardcore trade. I typically play Juggernaut BAMA on hardcore. I have for a couple leagues now. It's a really strong character that's very tanky. Antiquarian is basically going to be exactly that, except even more max hit than Juggernaut. You lose a couple quality of life things, but you get around 10,000 ward for basically just having a really good rare body armor and nothing else, no other investment into ward. And then you can also wear some ward gear to make it come back faster, so 0.64 second recharge time. So very good layer defense. It's up a lot of the time. Not great against multiple hits within the span of less than half a second, but very, very good in general, especially against one-shots. There's going to be a couple path buildings in the description for the character. For leveling, there's the tree for leveling, but here's the quick summary. Start out as Ground Slam, sunder your way to Normal Lab, farm Normal Lab for the gem. Or you could sell a gem you get and buy the gem. From there, respec the character to BAMA, and you just play BAMA for the rest of the way. Upgrade your bow and your gear as you go, and it's very smooth and you're very tanky, so you do not die. Let me throw it over to myself now. Myself from the past or future, or whenever I record this section where I'm talking about the path building. I'm going to go over the gear and everything else like that. So take it away, me. Hi, everyone. How's it going? Today I wanted to go over my league start for a hardcore trade Phrecia, however the league is pronounced. Anyways, this is what I'm going to be starting. It's an Antiquarian character, so Marauder Antiquarian, and it uses Blink Arrow of Bombarding, or Mirror Arrow, whatever you like to call it, BAMA. It uses the strongest league start minion, pretty much. Blink Arrow of Bombarding, Mirror Arrow of Bombarding, both of them way outperform any other minion on league start. So that's what I'm doing. And I play in hardcore, so I want a lot of defense on my character. Probably way more than the average softcore character gives a fuck about. So let's start out with that. About 6k life, you have like 6.5 or 6, but you reserve some of it for precision with arrogance. And then here's the big thing, just shy of 8,000 ward. Which, if you don't know how ward works, ward is basically like health, but it only works against one hit. So as soon as I get hit, and it would deal damage to my life or whatever, it gets taken by the ward instead. And then my ward goes completely away. So that means it's not very good against multiple hits. But this character, between its ascendancy and some of its gear, which I'll talk about in a bit, it gets the restoration time of your ward down to 0.64 seconds. So every 0.64 seconds, you have full ward again. So you get hit, and then after 0.64 seconds, it restores. And getting hit in between, it doesn't stop it from restoring. It always restores in 0.64 seconds. So this is what the max hit looks like with your ward up, which is absurd, right? Over 300,000 elemental. This is against spells. This is a spell EHP, and then say Fizz 50k plus. Yeah, pretty good. The Ascendancy also gives you Adrenaline. It also gives you 100% global defenses in general, so you get more evasion, more armor, more ES if you care about that. This build only has a little bit of armor and a little bit of evasion. 89 all res. A lot of this comes from flagellant flasks being up, but without them you have about 84 all res, so pretty decent without your flasks up. And a lot of DPS, so a ton of DPS. This is pretty inflated by all of the different things you can do against a single target to increase your DPS, but your mapping DPS on this character with this gear is probably closer to like 13 to 14 million. That's like mapping DPS against a Guardian boss or whatever. So probably against like a tanky rare, your DPS is probably like 14 million or so without all of your stuff up. Because there's a couple things you do in this build against bosses, like throw Storm Blast mines and other cheesy shit that increases your damage by a lot. So let's start out with the bow. The bow is flat lightning, flat cold, and crit multi with a multi mod. This is pretty relatively easy to make in the current league settlers with recombinators. Just alteration, both of those mods alone, both the T1 flat mods alone, recombine them, etc. You don't even need the crit multi, it's not really necessary. You could prefixes cannot be changed, reforge. You could get one of these fractured and essence mod on minion damage. There's a lot of different ways you could go about making this bow. But yeah, suffice to say, it's not exactly the most impressive bow. But the enchantment that gives you minion damage affect you at 150% of their value is really, really good. Because that affects your blink arrow dudes. They get this bow. They have this bow equipped on them. So when this bow has 80% minion damage from the craft, or even up to 140% from the essence modifier, that they then get 1.5 times that modifier again. So that you get the 140% minion damage from wearing the bow, and then they get the 140% times 1.5 damage from wearing the bow as well. So it kind of like double dips in that way. It's really good, really OP. It actually outscales Voltaxic Rift and Lionized Glare and a lot of other really insane weapons just because of that enchantment plus minion damage. Okay, and then Ancient Skull. This is like a 1C helmet that gives this build like 10 million DPS or something like that. It's really, really good. The line that says they hear the whispers for 5 seconds, what that is 50% attack speed and 50% damage, so it's a ton of damage. And they get a bunch of crit chance, and you don't have to have power charges for them to get the crit chance. It's just based on how many you have. So they just get 150 crit chance, 50% damage, and 50% attack speed, and then 20% damage from the implicit. So huge amount of damage on your helmet. Perk Will's Toe. This is another like 1C item that nobody uses. This amulet is super fucking good. Even for the physical damage version, not just like lightning damage versions. Putting volatility on your blink arrow and then wearing Perk Will's Toe, it really, really ramps up the damage of the skill a lot. So Perk Will's Toe, Ancient Skull, the Ivory Bow, and then we got the Quiver. This quiver is kind of hard to make, but it's another recombinator craft. Basically what you would recombinate together is life and flat lightning combined with attack speed and crit multi, and you do the multi mod thing to recombine for like 70% chance. If you don't know how to recombine items, I really recommend you look at one of the many really good YouTube videos out. I'll probably put one in the description on this video. I'll put that there for everybody. But then after you put all 4 modifiers together, then you just roll. Craft cannot roll attack modifiers and slam it, and it always rolls damage with bow skills after that, so that's guaranteed to get on there. How high it is, not guaranteed, right? So you might get like 10 or 20%, but you can at least always guarantee the mod. The rings, they're also recombinators, right? Life and minion damage combined with attack speed and another suffix. This one has int, this one has a resist, and then crafted hybrid resist and chaos. And then for the ward, to make your ward come back faster, you can wear ward boots and ward gloves, and they have this mod, faster restoration of ward, and that's really important. So without these on, it takes 1 second for your ward to come back after you get hit, and with both these on, it takes 0.64 seconds, so it about halves the amount of time wearing these 2 items, so it's really good to get those. Same thing, just recombine them. You could also probably just, chaos spam, alt scour, fossil, harvest bench, whatever, you know, to get these. These are pretty non-impressive. And the amount of ward, like percent ward on here, that doesn't even matter. That's not even important. So these are super easy to make. You just want to get the faster restoration of ward and life. That's the most important stat on there. Another super easy to make item right here, just reforge chaos on the harvest bench. Basically, just farm a bunch of yellow juice and reforge chaos on your Stygian device. You could also do essence on chaos until you hit. But yeah, just life and resists pretty much. The body armor, this is a tricky one to craft, but it's the same thing as everything. It's Recombinator, right? It's this one has very good armor and evasion, basically perfect. But you know, it's not too hard to get up to like 3100, 3200 armor and evasion. That just means you're basically just gonna have like 7400 ward instead of 8000. So it's not a big deal. And you'd really like to have physical damage reduction on the suffixes too. That would be really nice. But that's easy to do. You can just prefixes cannot be changed, reforge fizz until you hit that as you desire, pretty much. So yeah, the gear is pretty reasonable. All Recombinator shit, you know, you can recombinate anything in this league, and nothing on the character is like 10 mod weighting or whatever, so it's pretty easy to get. You could also get these boots with like an endurance charge, warlords or something like that. The implicits aren't that important. Okay, the flasks, like I talked about, flagellant, elemental ones for bossing. You could also just run with a quicksilver and shit like that while you're mapping, gold flask, whatever you want. This is a big thing that people might not really enjoy. You have to use a mana flask with enduring on it for this character. Blink Arrow costs a lot of mana, a lot of mana, and you want to be spamming it because you want fresh meat to be up, which is a big damage multiplier on the supports here. And you could solve the mana a lot of ways, but you could just wear an enduring mana flask and solve it with just one flask. And although it's annoying to have to keep pressing your flask and you have to have flask charges, you know, for a long fight you can craft max charges on there. Not ideal, but it's a solution, right? And then when you're mapping, it's not really an issue at all. Your jewels, they're pretty basic. These are nice, but not insane. Just life and max resist and minion damage for all of these. You need this jewel eventually to be stun immune, or to have basically stun immunity, because you're not getting stun immunity from another source here. You could get unwavering stance, but you have 45 evade from your body armor, so you don't really want to throw away the 45 evade for that. And then these are just like flat lightning damage, life, some chaos res, whatever you can get, but mostly just flat lightning damage is really good. If you want to go full offense, you could do like later adorned and, you know, jewels, adorned and a bunch of jewel sockets. You could do large cluster jewels and a lot of other stuff. And then the links, so volatility, like I said earlier, volatility plus Perkwill's Toe is a lot of damage. You increase the max end, and then you make it lucky, so you increase the top end of the damage, and then make it the damage lucky, and that is really, really strong. Fresh meat, this gives them a bunch of crit chance if they've been recently summoned. If you're spamming Blink Arrow, they basically have this the whole time. Minion Dam, Crit Dam, and Wed, all just generic more multipliers. Desecrate and Spirit Offering. Spirit Offering's the crit one. It is slightly better than Flesh Offering for this character. And then Ensnaring Arrow plus Mana Forged Arrow. Every time you attack with your Blink Arrow or your Mirror Arrow, you're going to shoot out an Ensnaring Arrow. And enemies that are ensnared take 15% increased damage from projectile attacks. That includes your minions' projectile attacks. So that's a big free multiplier you get there. Precision and Arrogance. Accuracy for your guys. In order to afford it, you know, you put on this arrogance support, because otherwise your mana gets all screwed up. Stormblast Mine plus Minefield. This is the cheesy way to really juice your damage versus bosses. You just kind of have to alternate pressing Blink Arrow and pressing Stormblast Mine to keep them up. But if you keep all of your Stormblast Mines up against the boss, you get 72% increased damage taken on the boss, which is a disgusting amount of damage multiplier for sure. So it's worth the hassle. And then on your Mirror Arrow of Prismatic Clones, these guys are basically like a free aura, because you use Guardian's Blessing and Generosity. I don't know why I have Awakened Generosity on here still, but just regular Generosity is fine. And that means that you don't have to reserve Wrath, but you get it, and it has increased effect from Generosity and Guardian's Blessing. Yeah, and it's a bunch of flat damage for your minions. Really good. Feeding Frenzy on here, that gives your dudes more attack speed. And then Armageddon Brand. You need Armageddon Brand for Elemental Equilibrium. So you have a Cold and Lightning bow. If you cast Armageddon Brand on the boss, you get Cold and Lightning exposure on it, because you never hit with those elements, but the Armageddon Brand continues to re-hit. If you hit with Ensnaring Arrow, it'll kind of fuck it up for a second, but Armageddon Brand lasts like 7 or 8 seconds on this build. You just recast it every once in a while, and it'll keep refreshing that. Purity of Elements for Ailment Immune, easily solution Ailment Immune. I always like to be Ailment Immune at League Start, and the easiest way to do it is Purity of Elements, so... Purity of Elements, if you get Ailment Immune another way, you can do something like Determ or Grace or whatever else you care to do. You know, you could do Anger, I don't know. Lots of different stuff, Aspect of the Spider, Aspect of the Crab. Flame Dash, just move around quick, right? Haste is always really nice. I like Haste more and more these days. It's a great multiplier for your minions, but it's also good defense because you get movement speed. You really like having the cast speed for Desecrate and Spirit Offering and things like that you're doing. And then Assassin's Mark, that's the highest damage curse. This also lets your dudes get power charges on them from the quality, and gives them flat crit against the boss and all that good stuff, and crit multi. So that's basically the character. I've played Blink Arrow Juggernaut on hardcore a couple times now in the current patch, and it's really strong League Start. I basically just play the character until I get to normal lab, and then I farm Blink Arrow Bombarding with Sunder. Either I buy it from somebody else, or, you know, I get it from swapping eventually. And then I just level the rest of the way there. And I do the whole end game. You know, I was doing T17s on Lily's League recently here. Yeah, it's really good. Very strong skill from the start. And you get to play minions, and you get to do damage while moving, my favorite thing to do in Path of Exile. So yeah, that basically sums it up, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, I'm going to be live streaming for the League Start and a couple days before, no doubt, on my live stream, twitch.tv/Oscrix. I'm sure it's all over the screen anyways. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks for checking out this video. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks, guys.